Greetings, friends. We have been making our way through the book of Romans, if you haven't noticed, in our Sunday readings. And chapters 1 through 8, which we've just gone through, really in a very, very simple way could be said that Jesus has created a whole new humanity in himself that embraces both Jew and Gentile together. And it's no longer a focus on the external law that the Jews had, but it's all focused on Jesus Christ, who is the living law. And when we are connected with Jesus through faith, united with him in faith, we are united with the law spiritually. And so we don't have to look like a Jew to be the covenant people of God anymore. We don't have to be circumcised. We don't have to observe, the dietary laws, dress a certain way, observe holidays, so on and so forth. So that, in a nutshell, is chapters 1 through 8. But 9 through 11 turns up to a different problem now, or a problem that really arises out of that, and that is, the Jewish nation really didn't accept their Messiah, and we're not on board with this. And St. Paul grieves over this. And like Moses grieving over the Israelites when they were in rebellion with the golden calf, and where Moses was willing to offer up his own salvation to God for the sake of his people. In our reading this week in chapter 9, Paul says the same thing. He intercedes for the people and said, I wish to God that I would be accursed so that the Jewish nation would be saved. So it's out of this love and compassion for his people that St. Paul is talking. Okay. So Paul does go on to say, as he wrestles with this really difficult problem, that there's always been a remnant in Israel's history. And it's those Jewish folk who accepted Jesus and really was the first century church, right? That is the remnant. And that is how Israel will come back into the church as a remnant coming out from the outside in, so to speak. But that also begs another question, and that is this. We're looking at 2,000 years of history now, and Israel still exists. And if we believe that God is the God of history, then we have to believe that this is for some purpose. Even though we may not know what that purpose is, we know that it is because of what God put into Israel over the years, into history, that's so important to them, was given the law. To them were the prophets and the promises, or the patriarchs and the promises, the prophets, all the scriptures. I mean, it's incredible what what God did with this group. And next week we shall see what Paul says, and that is, these gifts are irrevocable, even though they have rebelled against Jesus and this new covenant. So we have to be very careful to have the heart of St. Paul when it comes to our Jewish brothers. And I call Jewish brothers because the Catechism calls the Jews our elder brothers, right? That's a beautiful thing. And we have to respect them, and we have to love them like St. Paul did, and like Jesus did. And so let me, when we see what's happening in this nation, this is why I'm pushing this so hard, is that in recent history, you have nationalists who are on the right, like the Nazis, who are anti-Semitic. And now we see the same, see it also on the left. I mean, we see, of course, with communism, but also with socialism, right? Because they're trying to create something that the Jews really do not fit in, okay? They want to reject the scriptures, both the whole Judeo-Christian framework, right? So this is why this is especially important, because there's hatred, and hatred against any peoples is wrong, okay? And I'm not getting into the thorny issues of the land in Israel and Zionism and that sort of thing, okay? I'm just talking about anti-Semitism. We have to love our elders, brother. Let me close with a quick story, okay? I had the privilege to study under a wonderful, great professor. His name was Stephen Geller, and he's a great scholar, Jewish. And